Good morning to you all, and welcome to what is another beautiful sunny day here in Claremont. My name is Jeannie Scalmanini, and I am the Executive Director of Alumni and Parent Engagement here at CMC. And it is just so hard to believe that in just a couple of weeks, we will be welcoming you all to campus for orientation and move-in day and parent and family orientation 2024. And we're so excited to welcome the class of 28 and our new transfer students to campus. But before we do that, we have lined up a series of virtual opportunities, webinars, and Zoom calls to familiarize you, parents talking to you especially now, with the many resources that your students will have throughout their CMC journey. And we are so happy today to have our very first webinar, which will cover all things course registration, academics at CMC, and thrilled to be joined by Deborah Flynn, who is our registrar, and Ellen Ketels, the Associate Dean of the Faculty for Curriculum and also Associate Professor of Literature. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. Thank you to those of you who have submitted questions previously via email. We will get to those. We have shared those, and those will be covered. But if you do have a question throughout the presentation today, you can go ahead and have those asked and answered by using the Q&A button, which should be at the bottom of your screen. You might have to kind of hover over, and you'll see the Q&A button. So without further ado, I will pass it to Professor Ketels to get us started.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be here and nice to have this opportunity. And Jeannie is right, it's a really sunny day. The only thing I would add is that it's way too quiet on campus because nobody's here yet. So we're looking forward to seeing you later this month, my goodness. So welcome, everybody. Deborah and I are really glad to be here. I also wanted to shout out to our associate registrars on the team, Maritza Barraza and also Lila Garlington. We are all here ready to go and excited to talk to you about academics. So here's a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about requirements. We're going to talk about things like orientation and registration, and also a little bit of an overview of our academic advising program. And there are lots of links shared in this slide deck. And so don't feel as though you have to furiously take notes, because everything that's here in the slide deck is also available somewhere on the website, and we'd be happy to share all those links with you. Here's why we're really all here. Because we're looking ahead to graduation. And I'm going to turn it over to Deborah, and she can start talking about how we get to this momentous moment. Turning it over to you.
All right, excellent. Thank you all for joining us. Again, I'm Deborah Flynn, and I am the registrar here at CMC, and I am looking forward to working with all of you and assisting your students with getting to graduation. So the million-dollar question, what does it take to graduate from CMC? All of our students are required to complete 32 course units to satisfy the Bachelor of Arts degree. On average, our students enroll in 4 units per semester over 8 semesters. The 4 units are basically broken down into general education requirements, the requirements for their majors, and all the students have to complete, they must have a cum GPA, and their major GPA and senior year GPA has to be a minimum of C average. Students have the option of majoring in, they can do a single major, a dual major, and they can also do a sequence. Now, going over to our CMC general education requirements. The foundations of our liberal arts education is our general education requirements. We refer to them as GEs. Most of our students complete their GEs in the first 3 to 4 semesters here at CMC. Next slide. Now I'm going to jump right into what our GEs are, and we will provide a link to our GE requirements in either the chat or Q&A session. So don't feel obligated to try to write all of this down. You can just click on the link and follow along with me. So the first GE requirement that our students are required to complete is the first year humanities and writing seminars. The first year writing seminar is FWS, and it focuses on critical reading and analysis, crafting strong arguments, writing in clarity and precision. Our FWS courses have a variety of topics, and the courses are taught by faculty in the literature department. Our FHS courses, which are the first year humanities seminar courses, cover a broad foundation for academic discourse and the liberal arts reading and writing intensive. They too have a variety of topics, and they're taught by faculty from across various departments here at CMC. And we have shared in the Q&A or chat box the links to our first year humanities and writing seminar topics. So please feel free to view those with your students so that you can see all the wonderful topics that our faculty are offering. The other part of our FHS and FWS requires the students to take one each semester in the first year. So each student who arrives at CMC must complete FHS or FWS within the first year. What does that mean? That means that if your student picks a wonderful topic in FHS for the fall, they will by default have to take FHS in the spring. There's no way around this. Students will review the topics, and if they need assistance getting into one, they can always contact us in the registrar's office. Next slide. The other component of our GEs would be the foreign language GE. Now, we require students to demonstrate competency in a foreign language. There are 4 ways that a student can satisfy this. The first way, which is probably the most common, is students will enroll in the 3rd college semester of a foreign language. We also offer placement exams, and the students will be offered an opportunity to take placement exams in any of the languages that you see listed on the slide deck below. The opportunity to take the placement exams will take place during orientation. There's a schedule within the orientation portal that the students can review to find out when the exam for the language that they're interested in taking is being offered. The other way a student can satisfy this requirement is with the AP or IBHL credit. Most students have already emailed or provided the college with their test scores. We will evaluate those. And if a student qualifies to have to satisfy their requirement with an AP or IB score, we here in the registrar's office will evaluate that and email the students and let them know that they've satisfied the requirement. The other way a student can satisfy this is being a native speaker. We have some students that provide us with like their 10th year Hindi exam, or maybe they've gone to a school that was a non-English school. We reach out to all of our students who may fit in this parameter and ask that they share information with us so that we can evaluate it to see if they qualify for this. Next slide. Our students also are required to do a lab science GE, and I personally am very excited about this GE going into the fall semester because it is CMC's new Science 10 course called the Codes of Life. All of our students will need to complete this course by the end of their sophomore year. Students are also required to satisfy a math computer science GE, and we give them 3 options to do that. A student can take any calc course or any computer science course here within the Claremont colleges, or they can take any CMC math course to satisfy the GE requirement. Next slide. Now, this is always the fun part. We also require the students to complete a humanities GE. And that requirement indicates that a student must take a course in one of these 4 areas that's outside of their major. You're probably going, what does that mean? So if a student is majoring in philosophy, in order to satisfy the humanities GE, they can take any other course outside of the philosophy area. They have to take 2 to satisfy this requirement. And to satisfy the requirement, if they decide to do the foreign lit, they have to do the 4th semester of European or classical language, 5th semester Korean or Arabic, 6th semester Chinese or Japanese. For the literature humanities GE, it's any CMC lit course. Philosophy is any CMC philosophy course under 60. And for religious studies, it's any CMC religious studies course under 180. Next slide. And I'm excited about the social science GE as well, because like the humanities, we do require the students to take 3 outside the major. Same requirement over here. The areas that are covered are econ, but it's not just any econ course. You'll notice that it is specific to econ 50. Our Gov requirement is specific to Gov 20. History is any CMC history course, and psychology is any CMC psychology course under 100. Again, what does that mean? If your student is an econ major, econ 50 is the first core course in the econ major. That means that the student would be required to take Gov 20, any CMC history course, and any CMC psychology course under 100 to satisfy this area. Next slide. My favorite. We require our students to do physical education, which is PE. Students have 3 ways of satisfying this requirement. They have to have this requirement satisfied by the end of the 4th semester. The first way they can satisfy it is to select 3 PE activity courses. And I have to tell you, CMC offers a lot of activity courses. It's not just getting in, the weight room, lifting weights. They can do dance classes. They can do walking. They can do sailboating, horseback riding. We have plenty of activity courses that the students can participate in, but they must do 3. Or if your student is like my student, they can do any 2 seasons of a sport. My son played football. So if your son or daughter or student is participating in any sport, they just need to register for 2 seasons of that sport, and they can satisfy the requirement doing something that they really love. The other way they can satisfy it is by doing 3 semesters of ROTC physical training. Next.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. I'll take it from here. So the typical first semester schedule, kind of going back over what Deborah was talking about, a lot of students will pick up parts of their GE program either by taking a language or some other humanities GE, taking either FWS or FHS. It doesn't matter in what order they take those seminars. Maybe they take a math GE. Maybe they satisfy one of their social science GEs, and then PE, of course. And on the Registrar's website, we have a wonderful resource put together that lets you know more about first semester recommended courses. So check that out. And there's advice there about how to look them up on the portal and think about your schedule in a mindful way. Okay, so you might be asking, how will I remember all of this? And Deborah's website has a wonderful page of new student academic resources. So definitely check that out. There's a lot of wonderful information there. And that's a good first place to go if you're looking for some answers after the webinar. Okay, so let's talk a bit about orientation. And Deborah alluded to some of this before. So 3 weeks from today, on August 22nd, your students are going to have a busy day. They may be starting in the morning with a language placement exam. And then from 10 to 11, we're going to see them at a session that covers academic requirements and registration logistics. From 11 to 12 on that day, they'll get an introduction to our many academic resources, and they'll get to meet some of the people associated with all of those different resources. And then at 12:15, they're going to have lunch with their new academic advisor, and I'll say more about that in a moment. Then after lunch, they have an opportunity to explore, and they start by selecting an academic information session. And what that means is maybe they'll come to the literature department session that my colleagues and I will be hosting, or maybe they're going to go to the econ session and learn more about the econ major, etc. So all of our majors will offer a session. But one is never enough, right? So from 3 to 4, they have an opportunity to explore more broadly. And I've got some photos. Some of these are from 2 years ago when we did it outside, and learned some hard lessons about wind on our campus. The psychological science team at the bottom, they had all these wonderful big signs on easels, and at one point they all fell over. So now we do it in a big rec gym. And so you can see at bottom left the students entering the room, and it's just a wonderful, raucous event. All of the majors and sequences are in there. Some of the joint programs as well, like joint music, if you have a student who's interested in playing an instrument or singing in one of the choirs, everybody is there, and students can just wander around, and there might be 3 different faculty at a given table. So students walk away having talked to dozens of faculty already on August 22nd. So that's a really fun and exciting event. I also made a playlist for it, which is really nerdy, and I enlisted the help of different department chairs in this, and we came up with a fun playlist that has to do in some way with whatever major they're attached to. Okay, moving on. Again, how do you keep track of all of this information? Well, log into the new student orientation portal, where there's a really detailed schedule. It gets updated regularly. And especially for students on the day, on August 22nd, well, wait a minute, what classroom am I meeting my advisor in? Or wait, where is that majors and programs fair again? They can look at the new student orientation portal, and so much information is there at their fingertips. So that's a really useful resource, and they can log into it right now to find out some information. Okay, let's talk about actual registration. So I was just talking about what happens on Thursday, August 22nd, and on Friday, August 23rd, all of the incoming students across the Claremont Consortium register for their classes. And we do it a little bit differently at Claremont because we have cross-registration across all of the schools. So it's really exciting. It kind of happens all at once, and students do it when they get to campus. So there's lots of support available for them from our team in the registrar's office, who are all here today, the first year guides, and also the academic advisors. So there's a lot of help on hand for registering. Every student gets a registration time, and these are assigned according to a system generated, they're system generated into priority groups. And those priority groups rotate every semester. And so I've tried to show you what it's going to look like. So if your student gets an early morning registration time for this semester, they're going to be sort of slowly rotating out of that. And then if you have if your student got a late afternoon registration time for this semester, they will also rotate out of that. So if you don't love your registration time, it's going to change the next semester, I guess is what I'm saying there. Deborah, anything to add, because you're more on the front lines with the registration times?
Yeah, I wanted to just add that for how the registration works is exactly the way Ellen has described it. Each student is assigned a priority group number when they enter CMC, and that is their group number, the duration of their time here at CMC. So what you see on the screen is if your child is in group 1, then the rotation you see is the way the student will register the duration of the time they're here at CMC. So priority group 1, as a first year, registering as a first year student for the fall, their registration time will be early morning. First year spring, late morning. Sophomore fall, early afternoon, and so on and so on. We're providing the link to how the registration protocol works in the chat or in the Q&A. So please review that information with your student and for yourselves, because a lot of students feel like they always get the worst registration time. But I promise you, it is system generated and it rotates every semester. And like Ellen has said, the registrar's office is on, we are available on Friday, August the 23rd, and we're always available during pre-registration and when your student will register. We will help the students understand how this all works. And classes start on Monday, August the 26th, and our goal is to get students in the courses they need and make sure that they are happy. And we do everything we can to make sure that they're happy with their courses. Students will be able to register on the 23rd. We will then close down the portal. We'll open it back up on August the 26th, and we open it to everyone. Now I'm gonna let you all in on a little secret. In a couple of weeks, I'm gonna close the portal and I'm gonna lock everybody out except your students. Your students will be able to go in to do registration. They'll be able to grab courses. I did see a question that came in where students said it looks like the econ courses are kind of almost full or in demand. When we do pre-registration in April, we already know that we have to accommodate our incoming class. So what you see on the portal right now in terms of available seats in some of those courses, that's going to change when I lock everyone out of the portal and open it up for all of your students to register. We will try to meet the demand in all of our courses, and we do realize that Econ 50 and Gov and some of our other courses are in demand, so we've already prepared for that. We're going to be ready for your students. Once fresh first year students register, they will be given a certain amount of time to process their registrations, and then we'll roll through our entire cycle. First registration appointments at 8:15. The last one's going to be at 4:30. Students will be locked out of the portal after Friday, and then I will reopen the portal on Monday to everyone. At that point, your student and our continuing students, all students will be able to log into the portal and make changes and adjustments to their schedule. They'll be able to do that all the way up until Monday, September 9th, the last day to add a new course. So, as stressful as it sounds, I am here to guarantee you that we will help the students get in their courses. We are here and available to assist them.
Thanks, Deborah. One thing you might want to do is, if you're looking at the portal now, you might want to look again as we get closer to registration, and Deborah and her team will have made, more spots available for first years. There's some courses, and Deborah, correct me if I'm wrong here, but would it be fair to say that some courses that look full, you've actually blocked off seats for first year students, and those will be released in time for first year registration?
You're absolutely correct. And
Okay.
Econ 50 is one of the courses. Yes.
Right. And so if you look on Portal right now and it says all of the first year writing seminars are full, it's not true. We've just made it so that others can't enroll in them right now. So Monday, August 26th, classes begin and registration reopens, as Deborah has said. And I just want to say that it's not unusual for students to make changes to their schedule during the first week or two. It just, we call it the shopping period. And so sometimes there's some movement. And that's to be expected. And sometimes, you register and you think, well, gosh, I really wanted to get into that history course, but it's full. And then in week one, oh my goodness, a spot opened up. Let me see if I can move some things around and make that happen. And so sometimes in the first week or two, if a seat becomes available in a course that a student really wants, then they might move things around to accommodate that. Monday, September 9th is the last day to add a new course. So they have that window of time at the beginning, but after September 9th, it's really important pedagogically for students to have a fixed schedule. So after that date, they're not going to be adding a new course. Okay, let's talk a bit about academic advising. I think I mentioned that 3 weeks from today, students are going to be having lunch with their academic advisor. And actually 2 weeks from today, I'm going to have a session with all of the academic advisors where we have a chance to just kind of go over requirements, and they can ask any questions, and they can share tips with each other and all of that. So each incoming student is paired with an academic advisor. And it's one of my favorite parts of my job, and I work with my team in the Dean of Faculty's office to make those assignments. And we do it with real thought and care. Your student may have written a letter to their academic advisor. I think most students do. And it helps us get a better picture of what their interests and goals are, and that helps us match them with somebody. Alongside orientation and the support that comes from Deborah and her team in the registrar's office, academic advisors help students think more expansively about their time in college and about how their time at CMC, both in and out of the classroom, can contribute to their growth and development. And at this early stage, academic advisors are there to encourage students to challenge themselves intellectually and seek out new academic experiences. And if I'm trying to make it sound like the advising-advisor relationship has a kind of loftiness to it, I mean that, because I think on the one hand, yes, they're working to figure out what are my actual courses for the fall, but we also want them to think about that in a broader context, and also start to get students to sort of take ownership over that and really think about, what are you doing this year, and how does that contribute to your broader goals, and what are some things you want to do here. One of my favorite things to talk with my advisees about is, what is something completely unrelated to what you want to major in, or what your career goals might be. What is something completely unrelated to that you want to do at CMC? Because this is 4 years for them to really invest in themselves, and grow and challenge themselves and try new things. As I said, everybody gets an academic advisor. We make every effort to pair students with an advisor in one or more of the fields that they've expressed interest in. And interests can change, right? So you might come into college, actually, I know mine did as a college student. If you told my 18-year-old self what I'm doing right now, she probably wouldn't believe you. My interests changed while I was in college. And with that in mind, we make it easy for students to add or change an advisor across their 4 years, because that just happens. And it's actually kind of exciting when you discover something new in college and then have to change tack. I actually encourage students to add advisors because I think more is more. And sometimes it's nice to have different people to bounce ideas off of. And so sometimes my incoming students, I've got one student who ended up majoring in computer science, and I'm a literature professor. Should I be that student's advisor? Maybe, maybe not. She has an advisor in computer science, but we have a really great rapport. And so I actually have a meeting with her in 2 weeks to talk about her Fulbright application for her plans after graduating. So the advising relationship, it can take lots of forms, and students kind of make those relationships what they need them to be. And as I said, it's easy to add a new advisor or change your advisor. as your academic goals continue to develop. So let's talk about August 22nd. Everybody's going to pick up their boxed lunch and then head to a classroom that's been pre-assigned. We're still working on getting the classroom assignments, but we'll have that schedule up on the orientation portal soon. And this is an opportunity for them all to get to know each other. They get to know their academic advisor. It's an opportunity to ask questions, and they get to meet a group of 8 to 10 other students. And I kind of love that because they will have already met some students through other orientation activities. Now they get to meet some students who have some similar academic interests. And then the week after that, they'll be meeting people in class. So it's a nice way of just getting to know more and more people in the community. If they haven't already, your students will be hearing from their advisors soon by email. And then obviously they'll meet in person. So I've been in touch with the academic advisors. I've let them know they need to be reaching out to their students. I'll give them a little nudge in the coming days. So your students should be hearing from them soon, again, if they haven't already. Okay. So what does academic advising look like after orientation? So I'm going to go through a list of some of the touch points. So during and after registration, advisors will generally check in, how did registration go? Or the student might reach out and say, oh no, I have to make a decision between this thing and this thing. Can you help me figure it out? So there will often be some communication in the first week or two. And then I encourage advisors to check in with their advisees at the 1 month mark. In my experience, that's a really critical time because the workload is starting to pile up a little bit. There might be a little bit of homesickness. The first couple of weeks are really exciting, but at the 1 month mark, things are starting to feel pretty real. And so I encourage advisors to check in. How is it going? Do you want to get a coffee? Here's my office hours, all of that, just to make sure students know they have someone to go to. In early November, students need to get clearance for registration, and I just put a little screenshot of what the button looks like in the portal. I want our advisors to have a conversation with each of their advisees. How's it going this fall? What are your plans for the spring? And I also think it's an opportunity to say, this is how you structured your schedule in the fall. What have you learned from doing that? And what do you want to do differently in the spring? And it might be like, well, I thought I would just try to take all my classes on Monday, Wednesday, so all the other days would be free, but that's been really hard, so maybe I'm not going to do that, or things like that. They might ask your student about, how are your study habits going, things like that, so that they have a mindful transition into the spring semester. And then anytime an advisor sees an academic advisory or a low grade notification come across, an academic advisory is basically a quick alert to the support system. And a faculty member might fill them out if somebody hasn't had good attendance, or somebody's missing assignments, or if somebody didn't do so well in a midterm, et cetera. And so it's a quick alert that goes to the advisor, the registrar's office, the dean of students' office. And the reason why is because it's an opportunity to support students and help them respond in productive ways, and get them in touch with resources on campus. And so when I see one come into my inbox, I just send a quick email and say, it looks like you struggled on your midterm in Professor Levin's psych class. Do you want to talk about it? I'm here. This is what my office hours are. Let me know how it's going. And so I just offer myself up as a resource. Okay. I wanted to, I'm kind of getting to the end of our slide deck here, and I just thought I would say a little something about the CMC classroom. And as you might imagine, we are a small liberal arts college. Our classes are small. So the classroom vibe is very active, engaged, and I would say rigorous, and really focused on discussion and active participation. A lot of our classes are really reading intensive and writing intensive. They're also interactive and collaborative. There's a lot of project-based learning happening in our classes. And of course, the classroom isn't the end, right? It's the centerpiece of a whole range of co-curricular stuff, including research with faculty, all kinds of programming at the centers and institutes, and the Athenaeum, which is actually under my feet. I'm on I'm on the second floor of the Athenaeum, and they bring an incredible range of speakers every year, about 4 nights a week. And it's not unusual for faculty to tie that in with their classes. And it's always fun when that works out and you can say, well, actually, there's going to be this amazing poet and we're going to read one of her poems later on. So I'll see you at the app and then we can talk about it later. So the last 2 slides are just some resources and links. We have a huge range of academic support resources for your students. The Center for Writing and Public Discourse, you can go there to get feedback on any piece of writing that you're working on. And actually not even just writing, you might be working on, I don't know, a presentation or something, you know, they can help you with almost anything you're working on for a class. The Quantitative and Computing Lab, really essential for some of those, you know, math and social science courses. We have an amazing team of success coaches. My favorite thing about the success coaches is that they're not just, you know, they're students who have succeeded, but they're also students who have succeeded by, you know, oftentimes going through something. And so there's students who can meet the students they're coaching, you know, where they are and say, I've been through something too, or I struggled over here. And I think that's a really powerful way of doing it. So definitely check out the success coaches. There's all kinds of peer tutoring. And our care center has a textbook loan program. And so there's a huge amount of text there. I actually saw Saya Clem, the guy who organizes it, at the end of the spring semester. And I heard him, but I couldn't find him because he was behind all these stacks of books. So it's a really impressive library that they maintain over there. So a lot of good stuff to check out. And then these are just some of the links we've been mentioning in our slides. And so definitely check out the orientation website and portal, and then all of these new student academic resources. So that's our slide deck. And Maritza and Lila, how's it going in the Q&A? And anything coming up that Deborah or I could talk more about?
They actually have cleared it out, but I grabbed a few questions out.
Oh, great. I haven't been looking because I wasn't sure how that would work since I'm screen.
Yeah, that I know that we don't, we didn't have the answer to. So what I'd like to do is, Ellen, one of the questions that was in the Q&A is what's the average ratio of student to advisor?
I assign them in groups of nobody has more than 10 incoming advisees. And then there are some faculty who have fewer. So it kind of depends, you know, and some of it's based on high demand, you know. But no faculty member has more than 10 first-year advisees.
Excellent, thank you. And that answers the other question. There was a question that said, how many students are assigned to the same advisor? So the answer to that question is no more than 10.
No more than
and
10.
The other question that came in was, when will WOL assignments be released?
Oh gosh, I don't know the answer to that, but we can check on the orientation portal. That information might be there. So the Dean of Students office would know that.
Excellent. And then I want to go ahead and we received some questions in advance, so I want to go ahead and respond to those questions that came in prior to today. So question number one was, what type of guidance will you provide the students to help them choose what classes to take, given that there are so many offerings? So I'll go ahead and just touch on that a little bit. We offer a lot of guidance. There was the one document, the first semester recommended courses. You see the link there in Ellen's slide deck. We encourage the students to click on that so that they can kind of understand what courses they should be taking. It doesn't mean that the schedule is going to look exactly like that, but that's what we recommend the students take. In addition to that, as I've stated earlier, the registrar's office is here. We are available. We've been doing this for a long time. We know how stressful it is. So students are more than welcome to come into the registrar's office during their registration time to seek our assistance. In addition to that, we have first year guides available to help the students. Dean of Students is on staff. We are all hands on deck here in Claremont when it is time to get our new students in classes. So any student that's having an issue can stop by any of our offices. The other question was, when will students meet with their advisors? Ellen provided that information. It will be on August the 22nd. The other question that came in was, when do these advisor meetings and registrations take place? Registration again is going to be on Friday, August the 23rd, and students will meet with their advisors on the 22nd. And we've got a couple of other questions in the Q&A. One is, will students have to buy some books after registration, or will all of it be through the Care Center? The students can actually purchase their books through the library. Once they register for courses, there will be information on which books are being offered. And I can let Ellen talk more to that, because she can describe the process that faculty go through to have their books made available in the library.
Yeah, so books might be made available as course reserves in the library, but purchasing books is through the bookstore. Or students can order them, however they choose. A lot of students want to order them online. And so a few, I don't know, I have a few different things I want to say about that. So students can, I think, especially in first year courses, everybody knows, okay, students have just arrived 2 minutes ago, they haven't had time to place an order in advance. And so most of those students are going to be, sorry, there's a leaf blower outside my office right now. So I hope you can hear me okay. The most students will be acquiring their books, during orientation week or the first week of classes. A lot of faculty members will make available the readings in some sort of digital form or PDF form for that first week. I know I do in my classes, because sometimes people just haven't had a chance to get their book yet, or maybe they ordered it from Amazon but didn't want to pay for shipping, so it's going to take forever to get there, or something like that. So we just try to work with students in that first week or two. They might be able to check it out at the library. They can also check out the Care Center, which is on the CMC campus. When I say library, I mean the Claremont College's library, the big library that serves the whole consortium. And then the Care Center is just a CMC resource. And students are also welcome to reach out to their faculty member and say, I'd like to place my book order in advance. Would you mind sending me the reading list? Or if they've, once they've been registered for a class, they can go onto the course website, which is either going to be on, we're in the middle of a transition in learning management system. So they might have a course on Sakai, or they might have a course on Canvas, and they can check that out and see what resources are already available for the course. I think the best thing a student can do, if they don't have their book, just reach out to the faculty member and say, I don't have it yet, here's my plan for getting it, and a faculty member will be happy to work with that student. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, thank you. A question just came up. It says, I know students can get Amazon deliveries to school. When and how do we set this up? CMC actually has Amazon locker, not just CMC, the Claremont colleges has Amazon lockers strategically placed throughout the various campuses. CMC does have an Amazon locker on our campus. There's also one located at Pomona. In addition to that, you can just go on Amazon, place your order, and have it delivered here to CMC. You will have a delivery address, and we have a story house. Story house is where all our deliveries go. And when your packages are delivered there, we have wonderful people working in Story House that will send you an email and indicate that your package has been delivered, and you can just go to Story House and pick it up. So there really isn't anything to set up. You just have to know what your address is. Or again, you can use the Amazon lockers and work with Amazon to determine, the locker number and pick up your packages there.
I would just add, I mean, some of these questions, I don't necessarily know when they can start, receiving those deliveries for your students. And so a quick email to the first year team can help as well. And we can put that in the Q&A. I believe it's fyp@cmc.edu, first year program at cmc.edu. So that's a great resource as well, in addition to things like the orientation website and the orientation portal. There's a lot of FAQs there. Other questions coming up?
Question just disappeared. There was a question about what's the Story House address. So the address to where your packages are going to be delivered will be your CMC mailing address. I don't know if that's been assigned to students yet, but when you get your ID and you go over to Story House to maybe make sure everything is connected. And when I say connected, I mean they're going to have to code it to like student dorms. They will provide you with the address. If for some reason you don't get that information, you can just send an email to Dean of Students or Res Life. I encourage you to work with Res Life to find out what your address is and to get information on how they recommend students have packages delivered to them.
And I think they're probably going to be covering a lot of this kind of thing in the sessions to come. And so we will share these questions with our colleagues and Dean of Students, of course, and just let them know that people are asking.
And I see a question that says, is this webinar the same as the academic requirement session on August the 18th during the parent orientation? I'll let Ellen answer that one.
Yeah, I think we'll cover a lot of the same things. I mean, I probably won't say as much about, I don't know if I'll say as much about academic advising, but we generally cover the same topics. So I don't know if the question was like, do I have to go to that other one, or not? I leave it up to you. So there's going to be some repeat slides. So,
I'll tell you a secret about that. You get to meet us in person.
Oh, that's a good point, Deborah. That's right. More is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So Ellen, I did want to just, and Deborah, say that I did answer the Story House question. The mailbox numbers, so you'll use your student's name and their mailbox number. I believe those mailbox numbers were assigned with their housing assignments, which has gone through the portal. So this portal is your student's portal. Many parents do ask to have access to that. I'll be very honest. That's a personal decision between your family. A lot of the information is in there that you're probably looking for. The WOA trip assignments are coming out this week, and I believe they'll find those also through that portal. So the mailing address is at our, it's called Story House, which is our mailroom right here next to Collins Dining Hall, their first and last name, use their mailbox number, 742 Amherst Avenue, Claremont, California. So that can also be found in the FAQs on the parent orientation website. If you go to the side there on that website, there is one tab that says FAQs and a lot of answers to these types of questions. I believe Story House will start accepting packages next week. So if you wanted to send a few things ahead of time, you could do that, not major, big, giant items. I would say sort of Target pickup, Costco pickup, that kind of thing will be better for those if you had something large, but it's not a very big mailroom because it's not a very big campus. So
Thank you so much for that, Jeannie. It's possible that you're just feeling like, wow, this was a lot of information to take in. If you, if questions come up for you, later in the day or next week, I hope you'll reach out to me, or Deborah. And actually, I'm going to just go back to the first slide, which has our email addresses on it. Reach out to us anytime. We're here to answer your questions, and it's normal to have questions because it's a big new thing for everybody. And so we're here to help and support you. So please reach out anytime. It looks like there might be one more thing. Oh, I thought there was a question in the Q&A.
It was, I grabbed it. They wanted to know what was the typical course load. Typically, our students register in 4 courses each semester over 8 semesters. Students must be enrolled in at least 3 credits to be considered full-time, but we encourage students to do 4 courses each semester so we can get you out of here on time. Remember, the target is 32 credits. That's what you need to graduate. The 32 credits come from the GEs. So there's about 10 courses, I believe, if I'm counting correctly, for the GEs. Once a student selects their majors, there are approximately, depending on the major, between 8 and 9 courses. And if a student selects a sequence, there's 6 courses to satisfy a sequence. So students will have the opportunity to take what we consider to be just general, like maybe pure elective courses that aren't going towards the major, GE, or a sequence. But 32 credits is what each student needs to get out of the door, unless they're enrolled in a program like our BAMA program that requires 36 units. But remember, they have to hit GEs. There's about 10 or 11 specific GE courses. They have to cover their major courses. Major courses, again, 8 to 9, depending on the major. And then if they select a sequences, you need probably about 6 courses to satisfy that. And then everything else to get you to 32. And we have a host of courses that can get the students to 32. So hopefully that answered your question.
great. Well, I would love to thank our amazing team here from the Dean of Faculty's office and the Office of the Registrar. Thank you so much for sharing your time and all this information. Next up on Tuesday, August 6th, is our next Zoom. This is a CMS athletics Zoom. So if you have a varsity athlete playing for CMS, this will be with our, let's see, Erica Perkins Jasper, who is our athletic director. It'll be a very informational session. After that, on August 8th, we have the introduction to the Saul Center for Student Opportunity. So this is our career services Zoom, which will be really helpful. And our last one, student well-being and success with the Dean of Students office. That's on Friday, August 9th. So visit the website if you haven't registered for any of these, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you
Goodbye.
soon.